Hey y'all, my name is Vannesia Darby and I am a marketing consultant, and occasionally I get questions about professionalism and small business. So I decided to start making more content around that, because we are all young, thriving professionals, and sometimes we just need a little bit of help navigating and seeing how are you doing this and how are you doing that. So I wanted to do a video on 3 ways to thrive as a young woman of color in the workplace. And although I left the corporate environment over 3 years ago, you don't have to leave a corporate environment to start a business, and you don't have to leave your corporate environment because you feel like there's no place for you. You want to make sure that whenever you transition onto your next phase, that it's not in reaction to what's going on at work. That it's not like, oh, I'm leaving this because ain't nobody got me over here, ain't no place for me here. No, you want to make sure that even if you leave, you can come back because you're that great of an asset. So let's get started. The very first tip I have on how to thrive as a young woman of color in the workplace is to learn how to say things in multiple ways. And here's what I mean. We call it code switching, we can call it corporate jargon and all of that, but you want to make sure that you can say the same thing that you would say to your homegirl, to your boss. So here's an example of what I mean. If someone asked you to lunch, but you're a little light on cash this week and you got bills to pay, instead of saying, nah, girl, I can't go. We don't get paid till next Friday. You can always say something like, no, thanks. I'm trying to bring my lunch this week, but catch me next week, girl. We can get something on the schedule. So you can still keep that same energy without necessarily using slang, because you don't want to get super comfortable at your job. You don't want people thinking that they can talk to you any kind of way and they can approach you any kind of way and become very, very familiar with you. You want to make sure that you maintain that level of professionalism that still says I'm approachable, but don't get comfortable. All right. So tip number 2 is be prepared when you go into a meeting. And I had to learn this the hard way because I kept getting called to the carpet and was ill prepared. And so finally I said, well, maybe I should actually prepare a report or bullet points of what I'm going to say based off of the agenda that I get. And this is going to be super, super helpful for you because you never know who's going to pop up and be in your meetings. You never know if the CEO or the director is going to come down and try to sit in on something just to learn something from what's going on. And you want to make sure that you are always seen in the best light. In order to do that, you want to prepare at least a day before. Unless you are really comfortable with what you're talking about, try to prepare the day before. Take a look at your schedule and say, okay, what are the key things that have happened when I did this one thing? What are the questions that I have to ask my coworkers that are impeding the progress of me getting this task accomplished? So when you come in, it's not a discussion time. It's a reporting time. This is what I did. This is where we currently are. This is what I need from you to make this happen. And you can also throw your wins in too. So this is what we did, and this is how it advantageously impacted the bottom line or affected the team or whatever you want to say. And that way you look a lot more prepared. Now, if you didn't get an agenda, if it's within a 24-hour window, be proactive and go up to the meeting organizer and say, hey, is there an agenda for tomorrow? Or am I expected to say something? That way you can get your thoughts together so you're not stuttering and rambling when it gets to you on the conference call or the meeting or the webinar or whatever, however you guys meet. You want to make sure that you are prepared. And that way, even if they haven't done the agenda, you're already thinking ahead and thinking of what you need to report about. So make sure that you have that all together, again, because you never know who's going to pop up, and you never know the reputation that you're setting right now that could help you later on down the road. Right? So there are plenty of times that I got brought into meetings in an impromptu way only because I was well prepared in every other meeting. Right? And so there are plenty of times where I got pulled into stuff that had nothing to do with me. But it's because I was well prepared in other things. The third tip I have is that you want to know what HR tools are at your disposal. So sometimes there could be a lot of things in the workplace that get a little borderline, like borderline inappropriate, borderline ethical, right? And so you're like, what do I do with that? One time I had an incident where a higher up was very, very rude to me, very, very just cold in an open forum. And I didn't know what to do. I knew I wasn't going to show out, but I was like, okay, how do I handle the situation? And it took an older person saying, if Vanessa does not get an apology, we're all going to HR, because as a woman, that is a hostile work environment when you have a superior who is a male do certain things. And I was like, oh, We can do that. So when you sign your life away on all these hiring papers, there is a code of conduct. There typically is an anonymous ethics hotline that you can call. There's typically is a confidentiality clause between you and the HR supervisor. So go back, if you haven't read it, go back and look through and see what all you can do, especially if you're at a large like Fortune 500 company or anything that involves a lot of dollars and decimal points. Okay, if y'all are in cash flow positive, all right, there are a lot of provisions that are set up, because when people get around money, they get crazy. When people have positions of power, they can get take it to a little extreme. Don't ever feel that you have to pop off at anybody, and if you do pop off, that is not warranted. Don't ever feel like that. If you need to advocate for yourself, you do that. And also know what legal and ethical matters are in your favor, so that you're not just having to report to your homegirl like, man, this is so unfair. Go ask HR, is this fair? Is this ethical? This is what I noticed. And in the words of Brother Too Short, don't be afraid to blow the whistle. I'm sure he wasn't talking about corporate compliance, but I'm just letting you know. Okay. Advocate for yourself, especially if you are a young woman of color, especially if you are a woman, period. Advocate for yourself. Don't always feel like it's a male's club or it's a good old boys club. Girl, bust up in there and do your thing, okay? And the last tip is a bonus tip. I know I said 3, but I got one more. And that is to pray before you walk into that office. There are plenty of times in multiple work environments and clients that I have that I pray before I go into the meetings. I may come 30 minutes early and pray across the building just so that God can come in and handle them before the mess even hits me. So there are people that are dealing with different things within their home. There are people that are dealing with maybe divorces, or maybe they're not feeling well, so they take it out on you, and that is not a good justification. So spiritually, be aware of what's going on and ask God, hey, I don't know what they're dealing with, but they're being kind of rude to me. If you could just come on in and stir it up, that would be great. And he will. And so don't be afraid to come in there and just to pray before anybody gets there. God, let this be a peaceful and calm working environment, and that way you can do your thing and get your check and get up out of there. So I hope you enjoyed this video and that is helpful for you. Again, sis, don't be afraid to advocate for yourself. You are so powerful and knowledgeable and intelligent, and people are blessed to work with you, and vice versa. Okay, so totally thrive in your work environment, and if you feel like entrepreneurship is for you, pivot when you need to, but not because you have to. So again, my name is Vannesia Darby, and feel free to sign up for my weekly blog that I kick out on every Monday morning to encourage you in your work week at vanessiadarby.com. I'll see you on the next video. Bye.